As a member of a reserve battalion during World War I, Himmler did not see active service. He studied agronomy in college, which is the science of soil management and crop production, and joined the Nazi Party in 1923 and the SS in 1925. In 1929, he was appointed Reichsführer SS by Adolf Hitler. Over the next 16 years, he developed the SS from a mere 290-man battalion into a million-strong paramilitary group and set up and controlled the Nazi concentration camps. Himmler was one of the main architects of the Holocaust, using his deep belief in the racist Nazi ideology to justify the murder of millions of victims. Hitler, Himmler, and Heinrich formulated the Holocaust plan during a period of intensive meetings and exchanges in April to May 1942. He was known for good organizational skills and for selecting highly competent subordinates. The Nazis planned to restrict non-Germans in the Polish general government and conquered territories to a fourth-grade education. They further wanted to breed a master race of racially pure Nordic Aryans in Germany. As an agronomist and farmer, Himmler was acquainted with the principles of selective breeding, which he proposed to apply to humans. He believed that he could engineer the German populace, for example, through eugenics, to be Nordic in appearance within several decades of the end of the war. Himmler used the SS as his tool for the implementation of Nazi racial policies, fighting the war and extermination of the non-Aryans in the newly won European lands. As laid out in the General Plan for the East, the aim was to enslave, expel, or exterminate the native population and make Lebensraum, which is living space, for Volksdeutsche, which are ethnic Germans. He continued his plans to colonize the East, even when many Germans were reluctant to relocate there, and despite negative effects on the war effort. The plan also included the kidnapping of Eastern European children by Nazi Germany. Himmler urged, "Obviously in such a mixture of peoples there will always be some racially good types. Therefore I think it is our duty to take their children with us, to remove them from their environment, if necessary by robbing or stealing them. Either we win over any good blood that we can use for ourselves and give it a place in our people, or we destroy that blood." Nazi racial policies, including the notion that people were racially inferior and had no right to live, date back to the earliest days of the party. Hitler discusses this in Mein Kampf. Somewhere around the time of the German declaration of war on the United States in December 1941, Hitler finally resolved that the Jews of Europe were to be exterminated. Heinrich arranged a meeting, held on January 20, 1942, at Wannsee, a suburb of Berlin. Attended by top Nazi officials, it was used to outline the plans for the final solution to the Jewish question. Those Jews able to work would be worked to death. Those unable to work would be killed outright. Heinrich calculated the number of Jews to be killed at 11 million, and told the attendees that Hitler had placed Himmler in charge of the plan. Initially, the victims were killed with gas vans or by firing squad, but these methods proved impractical for an operation of this scale. In August 1941, Himmler attended the shooting of 100 Jews at Minsk. Nauseated and shaken by the experience, he was concerned about the impact such actions would have on the mental health of his SS men. He decided that alternate methods of killings should be found. On Himmler's orders, by early 1942, the camp at Auschwitz had been greatly expanded, including the addition of gas chambers, where victims were killed using the pesticide Zyklon B. By the end of the war, at least 5.5 million Jews had been killed by the Nazi regime. Most estimates range closer to 6 million. On the night of April 19th, 79 RAF Mosquito fighter bombers conducted large tactical air raids against German positions inside Berlin. The RAF was trying to support the Soviet advance into Berlin without committing ground troops. As the Soviet army was approaching the Berlin suburbs, Hitler celebrated his 56th birthday on April 20th, and all the Nazi bigwigs were in attendance, including Himmler and Goering.
Hey, Bonnet, what is this? Just wait, something cool's gonna happen.
I think he's starting to like us.
Yeah. Money. Doesn't get any better than this, Beavis. Yep.
Starting on April 19th, Swede Norbert Massur, a Swedish representative of the World Jewish Congress, along with Felix Kirsten, Himmler's masseuse, boarded a flight from Stockholm, Sweden to Berlin. The flight carried Red Cross packages which were much needed by the Germans. Secretly, Himmler had planned a 2:30 meeting with Masur to discuss the release of Jewish concentration camp inmates. He's the one on the right. This meeting was arranged by Himmler's masseuse Felix Kirsten, who is the one on the left. There is some difficulty finding out whether Himmler met Masur in Berlin on April 20th or the 21st. Since most sources state that Himmler left Berlin as soon as he could, and we know that he was there for Hitler's birthday on April 20th, it is doubtful that Himmler lingered on for an extra day to meet Masur on the 21st, with the Soviets about to close the ring around Berlin. Norbert wrote later, "For me as a Jew, it was a deeply moving thought that, in a few hours, I would be face to face with the man who was primarily responsible for the destruction of several million Jewish people. He would have the opportunity to be of help to his many tormented fellow Jews." At Himmler's request, Walter Schellenberg, head of the Sicherheitsdienst and Foreign Intelligence, exchanged letters and arranged direct meetings with Count Folke Bernadotte, head of the Swedish Red Cross. After leaving Berlin, Himmler met Count Bernadotte at the Swedish consulate in Lübeck on April 23rd. As a result of these negotiations, about 20,000 people of different nationalities were released and saved in the White Buses operation. Count Folke Bernadotte is in the middle. Himmler falsely claimed in the meeting that the crematoria at the camps had been built to deal with the bodies of prisoners who had died in a typhus epidemic. He also claimed very high survival rates for the camps at Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen, even as those sites were liberated and it became obvious that his figures were false. After the meetings with the Swedish Red Cross, Himmler was on the run, staying a few steps ahead of the approaching Red Army. So, as earlier stated, Himmler was in Berlin on April 20th and traveled to Lübeck by April 23rd. Then he drove to Flensburg on April 30th to meet Admiral Dönitz to offer his services, which were rejected. Next, he drove to Friedrichskoog on May 11th. Then, on the same day, drove south to Neuhaus an der Oster. Himmler and two aides were stopped and captured on May 21st by former Soviet POWs. On May 21st through 23rd, Himmler was moved around to several camps and was brought to the British 31st Civilian Interrogation Camp near Lüneburg. On May 23rd, during a medical check, Himmler bit into a hidden potassium cyanide pill, dying within 15 minutes. Here is the timeline for Himmler's last movements. After being brought to the British 31st Civilian Interrogation Camp near Lüneburg on May 23rd, the officials noticed that Himmler's identity papers bore a stamp which British military intelligence had seen being used by fleeing members of the SS. The duty officer, Captain Thomas Sylvester, began a routine interrogation. Himmler admitted who he was, and Sylvester had the prisoner searched. Himmler was taken to the headquarters of the 2nd British Army in Lüneburg, where a doctor conducted a medical exam on him. The doctor attempted to examine the inside of Himmler's mouth, but the prisoner was reluctant to open it and jerked his head away. Himmler then bit into a hidden potassium cyanide pill and collapsed onto the floor. He was dead within 15 minutes. Shortly afterward, Himmler's body was buried in an unmarked grave near Lüneburg. The grave's location remains unknown. On this page and the following page, there are Himmler's death mask. If you liked what you see, hit the subscribe button or share. Thank you. This has been EmersusTech.